Time for our conversation on the state of a nation. In our conversation tonight, the question we ask is a truce in the offing? That is obviously based on what we had the Honorable Raila Odinga say about the Tanzanian president, offering to mediate in Kenya, and what the president tweeted yesterday, that he is available if the Honorable Raila Odinga wants to talk to him. That's the question we are asking tonight. In studio, I'm joined by the Honorable Member for Kuria East, that is Kitayama Marwa. He actually neighbors Tanzania. He will tell us about that. And then we also have the Honorable Richard Yegon, the Member of Parliament for Bomet East. Both of you are very much welcome,
Thank you,
gentlemen, to studio. Probably, Mheshimiwa Kitayama, to start with you, obviously because of the boundary of Kenya and Tanzania, quantify for us the cost of these demonstrations as we were having them last week, and what it means for business between these two nations and the other neighboring nations.
Thank you very much for having me, and I want to take this opportunity to, greet our viewers and appreciate that they spend a lot of time watching KBC.
Thank you.
All right?
Yes.
Kuria is neighbors Tanzania. It's actually a long stretch of border, and we have 3 border crossing points. 2 are functional with customs and immigration officers, that is Isibania border and Nyamtiro one-stop border posts. And trade in that area is heavily food-wise. There's a lot of food that is coming from Tanzania crossing into Kenya. And about a week or so back, there was a serious problem because there was so much maize coming from Tanzania, and there was a problem with the Kenyan officials granting access for this food to cross to Kenya. In terms of the prices, there has been the prices have come down quite drastically, and I think it has been first of all occasioned by the influx of maize that is affordable from Tanzania. And now, since about 2 weeks now, we have experienced a bumper harvest in Kuria, thanks to the fertilizer subsidy that the President Ruto put in place. A lot of farmers went to the farms, and there's a big harvest as we speak. If you know the terminology that the locals use, gorogoro. Gorogoro is that a mukebe of 2 kilograms. It is now, before the harvest, it was going for about 300 shillings a gorogoro. Now it's down to 80 shillings. So and every homestead has harvested. So there's already, as we speak, a lot of food all over the place, and basically, and then also the sweet potatoes in big numbers. In fact, we've got a big harvest for the last 2 years. This year there's been a very big harvest. So yes, there is on the area of food, there is a lot of food that is available from that end, and the traffic is from Tanzania coming into Kenya.
All right.
And for that reason, I think the trade imbalance would then favor Tanzania against Kenya in that regard.
Well, quite interesting. But Mheshimiwa Yegon, there's no doubt the kind of losses that the economy incurs when we have demonstrations such as we had last week, and for 3 continuous days.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of hue and cry because of what the demonstrators has caused in our country, and I would like to say that I wish what the Azimio team could have done is to give us a chance as the Kenya Kwanza team, because Ruto just came in the other day. The president has just came in the other day, and I think he should be given time to demonstrate and showcase his prowess in terms of leadership. Where I come from, which is the South Rift, Bomet is in South Rift, and as my colleague has said, there is a lot of bumper affairs which is going to come in very soon. As we planned it a bit late, but I think some other areas are harvesting as we are talking now. And I am telling you, the prices of all these food prices are going to come down in due course. And what we were telling these our competitors or the people who are demonstrating, going to the street and putting on the sufurias as caps, to make sure that I think instead of wasting time and going on the streets, they need to make sure that they do like what Kenya Kwanza and what the president is doing, is saying, to make sure that at least they go to the farms. Because very soon we are going to sell them maize and we are going to send at the price we want.
All right.
Yes.
Quite an interesting one. But be it as it may, Mheshimiwa Kitayama, this is where we are. And of course, Kenyans complaining about the cost of living. But we are confronted with a situation where if obviously the Azimio demonstrations continue, it looks like it sabotages the growth of the economy. And then we've had their attempts to, have a reconciliation kind of a truce between the president and the Honorable Raila Odinga. The president yesterday, while exiting to Tanzania, says he was ready for the talks. The question is, as a ranking member of the Kenya Kwanza administration and from the UDA party,
yes,
is there a truce in the offing?
I think we get lost. Truce for what? President William Ruto has no problem with the former Prime Minister to warrant a truce. So I think we must say this as it is. The opposition, when they started their clamor, these mandamano things, what they sold to Kenyans was that they want the server to be opened. They said they want a new IBC reconstituted and they want to take part. They said they want the Cherera Fort to be reinstated. They said they want the cost of living to come down. Those were the four things that took them to the streets. That's what they told Kenyans. My brother, you don't hear that anymore. They have now since dropped the server thing. They have dropped reconstitute IBC. You don't hear that.
Really?
They have. I mean, when was the last time you heard them talk about it? They don't talk about reinstating Cherera. Cherera is and her team. They are long forgotten, just like the poor souls that died the other day because of these unnecessary demonstrations. They will also be forgotten after the candles that they are currently lighting go off. And this we must tell them to their faces. They came in and said, okay, now we want, the president was magnanimous enough to say, now let's talk. And this talks thing, since the things you're talking about are structured, how about then you go do it in parliament, which the former prime minister accepted. And that, as it should be, we expected that as a statesman, he needed to do that. Right? So talks started. Then these guys decided, no, now we don't want talks anymore. Oh, now remove Kainan. Oh, it became a problem. They forgot about these others. They said, now remove Kainan. All right, Kainan was removed. Oh, no, why are you interfering with Jubilee? Because suddenly the former president, Uhuru, lost Jubilee. And, now we are going to the streets because of Jubilee. All right? Even before that could be done, they said, stop raiding Azimio members of parliament. Before that again, now why are you coming to our strongholds? When President William Ruto, as he should, because he's the president of this republic, goes to Nyanza, they are like, why are you going there? They demonstrate.
You're saying there's a shifted goalposts from the Azimio side?
They don't even have a goalpost anymore. I think they've handled it so much that it's broken, that they don't know what they want. Then they're now saying they want direct talks between the president and the former prime minister to talk about what? Because lowering cost of living doesn't need Raila and President William Ruto to sit down and talk. So if they sit down and talk, now you tell me how that brings down the cost of living? It doesn't. Okay. So whatever they are looking for is hidden. What the former prime minister is looking for is a handshake. He should just come out and tell people, look, I am so desperate, I'm looking for a handshake.
We will talk about
the only person who can give a handshake is President William Ruto. I want to talk to him. So the issue of the mediation, because you asked me about it, let me tell you, the tweet that you saw the president release, he's just simply saying, I don't need any other third party for me to talk to you.
And hold on,
neither do you need any other third party to talk to me.
Because we'll talk about that tweet and of course the mediation beat. But Mheshimiwa Yegon, obviously the big question here is, because why the Azimio side says it opted out of the bipartisan talks that Mheshimiwa Kitayama is referring to, is the lack of good faith. And I think I had the senior counsel Otiendo Omolo repeat the same, that there lacks good faith, and it appears like the bipartisan committee, particularly from your side, is being controlled from elsewhere.
Let me tell you this thing. Yeah? In fact, I think the Councillor Otiendo Omolo is contradicting himself. This is because I want to tell you that by saying that, he need to know that also what he said yesterday was that he was waiting for the Right Honourable Raila Odinga to tell them what to do. So what he's alleging that the Kenya Kwanza team is being controlled from somewhere, is getting instruction from somewhere, they need also to know that we have leadership somewhere, which we are also consulting. And the way they are consulting Raila Odinga is also we are controlling President Ruto. And they need to, not to cuck us and say, you don't need to talk to whatever quarter. So what I can say is that, first of all, before even Raila Odinga start talking and talking about coming to see President Ruto, we need him to first of all to accept that President Ruto is the president.
Which I think he admitted yesterday.
He has never.
President Ruto.
He has never. He has never accepted that he's the president. Okay. So we want him to address him as such, and also what we need him is that. What happened like the finance bill? This was something which was legally constituted. We participated, all of us, in parliament. It's only that we have the numbers and we passed the bill. They were there. They trusted. You saw it. We just walked out until past midnight, and they were party to it. And all these things we did it democratically. They have just run away again from these bipartisan talks. The bipartisan talks is that I don't know what they are afraid of. They are saying, you saw Otiendo Omolo talking yesterday saying, we are waiting for any information from above, that is from Raila and the team, to tell them whether they are going to continue with the same people or they constitute another team for this bipartisan talks. Okay. Yes.
Quite an interesting one. Mheshimiwa, as of course you bring in the conversation of mediation that you had started, there are those who say there is nothing wrong between these two sides, except one thing, hardliners. That the hardliners are the ones blocking a conversation between President Ruto and the Honorable Raila Odinga that would actually end what we are seeing on the streets. Do you think your side has hardliners? Which one of them could be you?
The unfortunate situation let me give you an example. Every time you talk to a girl and you don't seem to be getting through, you look for every other excuse. Oh, it's because it was raining. If the bus had not done this, you blame it on everything else. There's nothing like headliners here. It's just us Kenyans who are just reasonable. That's all. And it just happens that Kenya Kwanza has extremely reasonable leaders. And President William Ruto has been open enough to welcome us leaders who are reasonable and who talk to him. And if he seeks our counsel and we give it, that make us hardliners. We are just reasonable. We are using common sense. Now, on the other side, when
you're talking about the mediation bit, why they don't need a mediator?
We don't need one. There's nothing. What is that? What is the crisis? Because I have told you that this Azimio guys, they have broken down this thing from the fore. They have meandered all over the place, And all of those things that they are talking about can be done differently. But they have now insisted they still want to have a talk between President William Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga. That is where it is. Now, what are they going to mediate? That is a question. If you can answer me that, then I'll understand the role of a mediator. Now, let's assume what is being peddled out there, that President Suluhu was here, Mama Suluhu. Let's assume she was. What was she coming to do? To mediate? No one is fighting the other. You know, we are dealing with cost of living.
What you saw on the streets, Mheshimiwa, you don't think is a crisis?
What? No, my brother, if tomorrow I decide to call people in the streets and tell them there is a crisis, that doesn't make it a crisis. And when my good friend Otiende Amolo, senior counsel, says that there is lack of goodwill on the other end, okay, so now they have a barometer to measure goodwill. Who is that is measuring goodwill? On Kenya Kwanza side, when we are going for these talks that they called, it is them with issues. So it's them to bring the issues on the table, and then those issues are canvassed on the table. When in the middle of canvassing the issues, you don't start saying now, you don't have goodwill. I mean, honestly, that is not how you do it, unless you just want to run away. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, my brother, there is nothing that is constituting talks. Talks to do what? Okay. It's quite an interesting argument you make there. Mheshimiwa Yegon, you made reference to the Finance Act. And I think the press conference done by Azimio today after the vigil for the victims of the demonstrations was that one of the conditions for Azimio is the repealing of the Finance Act. Don't you think if there were to be any talks, that's a conversation you would entertain as the Kenya Kwanza side, seeing the public perception, seeing what they're saying is what has led them to the streets, that you would entertain such a conversation of repealing the Finance Act?
Let me tell you first of all about this repealing. Even if they repeal this thing, it is going to still come to the House. And coming to the House means we have to do the same business we have been doing. And by doing so, still we are going to win. It is just our the headline way of Azimio team doing, the way you have said, whereby we have always been very open. We have you have had Raila Odinga always hurling insult in the institution like the parliament, the courts, and all these IEBC, national police, and the judiciaries. And everything he cannot accept. Even after the judiciary declared Ruto as the president, he has been calling him a illegitimate president. And I want to say that we, as Kenya Kwanza, is trying to make sure that at least democracy is exercised in Kenya. It has been always not right. The way we have been seeing after every election, Raila Odinga just cry fall and say, I want election. We need handshake, nusu mkate. This thing, as Kenya Kwanza, what we need to show him that is that we won and we are not going to give in to his pressure.
That is the point you want to
That is, we want to put that across. What he's looking for, let him forget about it.
Should that proving the point come at the expense of probably a country's stability?
No, this is, these people are inciting the people, the innocent people. They are just going to fish people from the slums. All these people, the people who are even destroying the people who are destroying the Mlolongo, the expressway in Mlolongo. These people were taken from Njiru in Kayole and transported all the way. You had the people from the Kambaland talking about these people were not from our side. We don't know where they came from. We have never decided to do any protest. And I'm telling you, that is why you saw the government being very tough, telling the police to seal off all the areas, people not to come out of their residence because they were being transported to some other areas. That is why you didn't see any demonstration on Wednesday and on Thursday and Friday. The subsequent days after the Mlolongo incident.
Okay. Yes. Mheshimiwa Kitayama, Parliament typically is, the body we should trust with some of these things. And a majority is, it's okay for any party to have a majority in Parliament. It's democracy. But the fears from the opposition, and particularly from look at how Kenya Kwanza, of course, dealt with the Finance Act and how they passed it. The fear of the opposition is going by the majority numbers you have, and now the fact that there are other members of the opposition that have aligned to Kenya Kwanza. Yes. The outcome of this bipartisan talks could also likely be frustrated in Parliament because of the majority numbers that you have.
That is the beauty of democracy.
Yes.
All right. You know, first and foremost, Azimio now has jumped into the this finance bill being, stopped by temporarily by the courts, as if it is their thing. They should just thank Okiya Mtata that by some luck or something, he managed to stall the process. All right? But they are extremely guilty. They are also in court. Both Kenya Kwanza and Azimio participated in Parliament in broad daylight, and we were doing this thing to the wee hours of the night for 3 days running. So Kenya Kwanza and Azimio passed. Because that is what it is. When you vote, when the majority win, then the Parliament has passed. The media is not going to report that, Kenya Kwanza passed, but Azimio did not pass. No, it is Parliament that passed the bill. So both Azimio, and every time they open their mouth, let them know that they are also in court. They passed the finance bill. They did. And of course, unfortunately for them, while Kenya Kwanza was averaging 180 votes for each and every vote that happened, they had hardly 76. They don't have the numbers. And if you don't have numbers, just accept you don't have numbers. And you cannot hold a country ransom because you have no numbers.
Assuming that
wait for the next 4 years and you come back again.
Assuming that you don't have numbers, Mheshimiwa, and that's the primary question. Assuming obviously that you don't have numbers, the big question here is when Parliament is assumed as an independent organ or an independent arm of government, the fears from the opposition is that Parliament is slowly becoming an appendage of the executive.
The problem with Azimio is that they are crying about everything. When the judiciary seemed to be agreeing on certain one or two, issues that the president brought forth, like releasing, the independence of the judiciary and giving them funds and all that. Azimio was all over the place in this town crying that now, the executive has swallowed the judiciary. You understand? Now, suddenly, Okiya Mtata has given them a straw, form to hold on to, and now they are like, oh, now the judiciary is good, the bad one here is now Parliament. We were an appendage. No. We are 3 arms of government. The 3 arms are not detached from the body. We must accept that. If we are indeed 3 arms of government, and that is how the constitution is structured, then those arms are attached to a body, and that body is called Kenya. So yes, we are an appendage of Kenya.
Yes. You're an appendage of Kenya.
Parliament is an appendage of Kenya, so is the executive, so is the judiciary.
All right.
And in therein lies Azimio, and in therein lies Kenya Kwanza. We are all appendages of Kenya.
All right. I have about 5 minutes before I went up, Mheshimiwa. But I want to ask you, because this is what is important, from where you sit in a position of privilege and as a leader of the Republic of Kenya, because you don't just lead Bomet East.
Yes.
The big question in the minds of Kenyans at this point is, what next? Because you have the other side of Azimio has quite a number of people who are saying there's no need for handshake. And then there's also quite a number from your end who are saying we don't want anything that looks like a handshake. So the question is, what is the way forward for a country that needs to be stable, for a country that is in business?
The simplest way to this thing has been done is only that we need Raila Odinga to be in Parliament as the leader of opposition. That is why we are trying to create an office for the opposition leader. He needs to be in Parliament so that he can come and see how we are hammering the other side. Because I think he might be thinking that the Azimio team are not doing the right thing. So what we need him is, we need him to have an office in Parliament so that at least he can participate in whatever things we are doing in Parliament. He might be thinking that people are being bribed. the way he normally alleges. Those people who have come from the opposition, they knew that they're being, they were being boxed into supporting Azimio, which has never been. We want to tell, first of all, let me say, Raila, if he's dreaming to be the president, I think this is that was his last bullet. He has been talking about last bullet for the last.
The man has a way of reinventing.
I'm telling you, let him live for even 120 years, and then you will see. You will just be seeing dust. We will show him dust as usual, because and he will never accept. I said the other day, Raila Odinga, even if he wins, he will start still going to protest.
Those are remarks. Those are your remarks.
The only thing I want to say, the other thing, the aftermath, when he went out today to light the candles, he went to Mama Lucy, he went to Kenyatta Hospital to see those who got in the wrong hands of the law, the wrong side of the law. And the only problem I was wondering is that he never even mentioned about the police officer who was killed and the 305 police officers who were injured. There are around 158 police vehicles destroyed, 9 police stations destroyed, 850 shops, businesses broken into, and we have also other buildings destroyed, around 200. And then another cases of assault and robberies, roadblocks, which the protesters did, around 69, 70 roads which were blocked by these protesters, causing a lot of mayhem and carrying stone, destroying property, stealing from people. They even said, these people who were, you saw when they were in Jacaranda, they said, we are asking the people who are owning the shops and all these people doing businesses, please don't close your shops. We will not be stealing anything or robbing anything. We'll just come and pick the things from the shops. What does that mean?
Very interesting. And Mheshimiwa Kitayama, of course, as we wind up, because there's that proposal that Kenya Kwanza has had, and I think it emanated from your first parliamentary group sponsored by Parliament that you had at Windsor as Kenya Kwanza members of Parliament. The idea that the president himself supports the creation of the office of the opposition leader. Do you think that's the antidote to what we're having right now?
That is one of. One of.
Okay.
In my view, having in the office of the leader of opposition, and how I wish it could actually be sitting in Parliament. But for me, it doesn't really matter whether sitting in Parliament or not. But just having that office, so that you win an election, you go to State House, you become President William Samoei Ruto. You lose an election, you go to the office of the leader of opposition, you are now Raila Amolo Odinga. That is, then you have been assigned a job and you have been assigned an office. I think that would be one of it. And it is important. But then you did ask way forward. My brother, I would be very happy if indeed it was true that the son of the former president was in Mwea shooting birds. It would also be good that we don't shoot birds. It is against the law. It is unfair. Don't shoot birds for fun. It is wrong. It is also unfair, my brother, for the public to heed calls that they know clearly the consequences are dire as they are. The way forward is, please, public, don't be lured by any politician, including me, Kitayama. I should not tell you to go to the streets to do things you don't understand. Because when like now, we are being told there was supposed to be a secret meeting where Suluhu was supposed to mediate. And you public, you are out there in the streets, you are not even informed. Tells you how so irrelevant you are. Please don't go to the streets, you public. It is unnecessary. If you have to go to the streets, go because you want to go. Fantastic. Not because somebody has asked you to go. Finally, media. We must call you to order. Do you know, if you did not highlight this so much with a lot of pomp, but I want to at this point congratulate KTN. Allow me.
You can mention them here.
Spice, they did a very good thing. They had a round table. They condemned this, and that was good. I also must appreciate NTV. Also, they did that. I think it is important that when leaders are wrong, however big they are, call them out.
Okay.
Don't glorify them. Don't glorify their supporters.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you call us here so that we are at least giving comments that are bringing the country together.
All right. Thank you.
You continue covering Mandamano, you are fanning Mandamano.
You're about to hang. You're about to hang me. Mheshimiwa Kitayama. Regina, very quickly.
What I can only agree with our panelists this evening is that we need to embrace our biodiversity. We do bird watching instead of bird shooting.
Thank you very much, Regina. Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa Richard Yegon.
Thank you.
From Bomet East for joining us tonight. Mheshimiwa Kitayama.
Thank you.
And of course, we take your challenge. As usual, thank you very much, both of you, for joining us and sparing your time.
Thank you so much.
This is how we put a cap on Prime Edition. God bless you. Have a fantastic night ahead.